Chapter 7. It was darker than usual that night when she arrived home from work, the last remnants of the storm dampening the twilight by the minute as she hurried down the sidewalk. She was about 30 feet from the steps of her building when she noticed the blue Honda was back again. It had moved, and now it was only 7 or 8 cars away, on her side of the street. Her body tensed. Her left hand gripped hard on the apartment building keycard, and instinctively, her right hand reached into her jacket pocket for the canister of mace she always kept there. Her fingers fumbled around the cold metallic tube as she positioned it properly in her hand. She used her thumb to flick the trigger guard out of the way as her index finger slid comfortably over the button. She froze. The driver's door was ajar, about 6 inches, and the enormity of this fact caused an onslaught of panic to rise in her body. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! She advanced swiftly down the remainder of the sidewalk, trying to stifle her panic, her head on a swivel. One glance to the car door, followed by a glance at the bushes along the entryway of the building next to hers, a swift peek back at the car door, and sporadic glances all around. He could be anywhere. Her breathing growing shallow, she pushed on. She reached her building and took the stairs 2 at a time, balancing her feet, keeping her toes flat and pressing hard into the pavement to minimize the risk of slipping and falling. The entryway was before her, its wooden edges like a box around the double glass doors it framed. To the left of the doors and chest high was the security box, the small metal surface waiting to read her card. Fear began to overtake her, because in climbing the steps, she'd been forced to turn her back to the street. And the Honda. She sensed, knew that her time was running short. And because of this, she had to remain focused on the entire key card process, not sparing herself the time to glance over her shoulder. She could see him now, in her mind's eye, coming soon, racing down the sidewalk in long strides. If she could take the steps in 2, he could take them in 4. And then what? Her hand brought the keycard towards the box. Chills crawled up her neck, telling her that he was already there now, just behind her, his hand reaching for her hair, yearning to yank her head back and slice her throat. Her fingers were around the card, and it seemed like that moment, the time it took to swing her last 3 fingers out of the way so that her index finger and thumb could properly oppose one another to grip the edge of the card and slide it quickly but firmly through the scanner, lasted an entire lifetime. But in reality, the moment didn't last long at all. It was cut short by a simple turn of events that left her dismayed and amazed. She dropped the card. It bounced there on the pavement that made up the front porch of her building, like a dancing plastic nymph. Instinct was all she had left. She lunged at it with both hands, snatching it in mid-bounce with her left hand, and then reaching back to fend him off with her right, not looking at where she was pointing the mace, but preparing to push down on the trigger. Her left hand came up to swipe again at the scanner, but caught only air. On her second try, she managed to scan the card correctly, falling against the door of the entryway simultaneously, not hearing its customary buzz as she swung herself around the door and slammed it so hard she thought all the glass inside it would shatter. Then she looked up to face him on the other side of the glass. There was no one there. The relief that washed over her was so powerful it made her sick. Her hands trembled uncontrollably, and soon her body was in on the act, awash in shivers and fits. Fuck, she thought. And this surprised her because she rarely used this word. She found it vulgar and uneducated. Maggie made her way through the second double doors with quite some effort, feeling so weak and tired that a nap right there on the floor would not be beyond her. She leaned on the stairwell railing for a few moments. Mrs. Catherley, sweet old nag that she was, would be a welcome sight now. But, of course, the one time Maggie needed her, the busybody had opted out for a Mai Tai in the Florida sun. Here's hoping she forgets her fucking sunscreen, she whispered into the empty air. Again, that special word sneaking into her vocabulary. After a while, Maggie was steady enough to begin the walk up the 4 flights of stairs to her apartment. The second floor was occupied by some NYU students who had obviously picked tonight of all nights to have a little get-together. The Stones were on full blast, Mick Jagger blabbering on in some narcissistic tirade about having someone under his thumb. She always hated that song, but was surprised that college kids nowadays still found the Stones party music material. She could hear a girl laughing loudly and another one shouting the lyrics. There were other voices, maybe 6 or 8 in all. So early, just getting started, she thought. The third floor was vacant and had been for a month now. The girl that lived there had moved out in a huff, Mrs. Catherley setting her out on her ear. The girl had been a mousy brunette with cropped hair and green eyes who had guests all the time that were not male, and Mrs. Catherley had noticed this quickly. She'd tolerated it until one of the female roommates on the second floor had gotten into it with her boyfriend, who had found her with Miss Green Eyes in a compromising moment. A nasty quarrel had ensued because it was one thing to find your girlfriend with another man, quite another to find her with another woman. Even Mick Jagger might have a hard time with that one. When Maggie made it to her apartment and unlocked the door, the smell from inside rushed out to surround her. She'd made it safely home, on a stretch, but still across the plate. All that awaited was for the umpire to make the call and the crowd to cheer. She did her automatic inventory of the apartment and noticed that everything was in place, just as it should be, with one notable exception. The bathroom door was half closed, as if someone was behind it.